Hello again. My name is Rob Goslin. I'll briefly introduce myself. I'm the founder of a website called riversays.org. And we have a big announcement. I've been making some big changes to the website and also some changes to the YouTube channel. I decided that I was leaning way too much into focusing on writing, since that's my forte. I do a lot of writing and poetry and that sort of thing and essays. But the reason I created riversays.org and this YouTube channel, which has now been renamed just Riversays, is because I want to focus on all things creative. I want it to be a celebration of the creativity of the human spirit. So if you're a writer or a photographer, or musician, artist, dancer, sculptor, anything creative, as long as you're human, you're welcome to join our new community. Come along for the ride. It should be kind of interesting. What I plan on doing with this channel is just talking about things creative. I was going to go on the road this week so you can talk about theme, but I realized that the entire presentation was basically based on writing. And as I said, I spent the first month or so of this new year really thinking about where I wanted to go with Riversays and why I started it in the first place. And the reason I started it, I might have briefly mentioned, but I was really serious about creating a space where creative people can just be creative. And I truly believe that being creative takes great courage. And courage means you share what you create. And I wanted to make a space where people could be brave and share the creative process. Any skill level. All we ask is that you be an adult, 18 or over. But we're going to just share and be creative together, because I think in this world, heading towards a technology-based creativity model, it's really crucial that we make something human. And while it's hosted on a technological space, we can certainly use it as a human space. And I'm going to insist on that. If people send stuff in, I'll ask that don't send anything AI or generated. Please just be human, be yourself. But what about the channel? I've changed the name. It was originally called Riversays Writing. Now it's just straight Riversays, because as I said, we're going to focus on all things creative. And a word I like to use a lot about creativity is, I don't consider myself a creative person. I call myself a visionary. And what does that mean exactly? It means when I see something in the world a little bit different than everybody else does, I express it creatively. With me, it's poetry and writing. Sometimes I draw and paint. Other people do it with visual arts or with dance or with music. But it's just a moment of enhanced perception. And I don't think that's reserved for certain people. I think as humans, we're innately born with that ability to see something in a different way. And the visionary part comes in when you decide to share your vision. You get brave and show other people what you did, not just pass it around a table, but hang it on a wall. I've talked about this before, but sharing creativity is so important, especially in this time when humanity seems to be kind of being pushed a little bit to the background a little bit. But like I said, I was leaning into focusing on writing a lot on my website and on this channel, and I'm really going to make a change and really be intent and focus on being all things creative. What does that mean? Well, when I talk about certain things, for example, I was going to do theme this week, as I said, but paintings have theme, sculptures have theme, dance has theme. Theme is a word you don't hear enough in creativity. Story is, people in writing always say, well, what's the story? Well, we can figure that out pretty quickly. And when people ask me to look at their piece of writing, I'll always say, well, you might want to strengthen the theme. And they'll kind of look at me a little funny sometimes. And I'll say, well, if you can't find a theme, then you might want to go back and check again. I'm a big fan of theme in all things, including music. Music has theme. Listen to some of the great, pieces of classical music. They're all theme-based. And I think we need to push on that a little bit. So I'm going to go on with the human theme. We're all human, and we all share a common theme and the ability to see things differently. AI is generating all this amazing content, but it has to be prompted by a person. Maybe someday it'll advance to the point where it comes up with its own ideas, and I hope not. But at this point, it basically has to be prompted. It's never started the conversation. It might say something basic and get you going, but it's just programmed to do that. And humans aren't. We observe the world with our senses. And when I say visionary, I don't mean with just the eyes. ears, smell, touch, taste. I've gone all over this before, but I wanted to go over it again because we're starting a new year and the website is taking a whole new direction. Again, it's riversays.org. You can see it over my shoulder. But also the channel is taking a new direction. We might do things like interview other visionaries, other creative people. I'm going to learn how to share my screen so I can share creative works by other people and talk about them and apply different theories to different things, like different ways of looking at other people's works of art or creativity and how to analyze them and talk about them. And people use the word criticize and it has a negative bent to it. But when I criticize a piece of writing or discuss a work of art, my main goal is to provide confidence to the person creating that piece of work. Because I want everyone to be creatively confident no matter how long you've been doing it. If it's your first painting, if it's your first song, your first guitar lesson, just be confident and be proud of what you're doing and share it. Just come along for the ride. Creativity is going to be all we have left pretty soon. That might be a bit dramatic, but sometimes I feel that way. And I feel like creativity is sacred, truly sacred. And as I said, I'm a writer, but I know people who do other things as well. I also do photography, and I share some of that on the website. So if you want to post some of your material, if you're a photographer or an artist, check out riversays.org. I'd love to have you along. But back to the channel. I'm very mindful of the words I use. I used to call myself the editor of this channel and the editor of the website. I've changed that to curator. Editor implied that I changed material that folks sent in. That's something I never want to do. If people supply something and they want to share it, I might just accept it as is, but if I send it back, I might offer a few comments. I'm certainly not going to revise it, but I might point out ways to strengthen it and that sort of thing. That's just the way I do things when I do my writing groups and help other writers, which is something I truly love to do. So all that being said, I wanted to create a space where humans could be creative and share the creativity and be brave with their creativity, because that's who we are. Ever since we started scratching on cave walls and banging sticks together and all that and dancing in front of fires, we've been creative. It's in our DNA. We're born creative. All of us. And each of us, in one time or another, sees something in a unique way and wants to express it in the only way that they can, only way that you can or I can. I also think the audience is a huge part of the creative process. You have to respect the audience because every audience member, every observer, as I like to call it, brings their own set of experiences to every piece they look at. For example, if you have 5 different people looking at a painting, they'll all bring their own different experiences to watching that painting. And they might all silently look at it and think about those experiences. But I'd also like to create a space where people can talk about works of art and other poems. Of course, we'll be mindful of copyright and all that stuff. But creatively and positively discussing things that are presented to us is also something wonderful. It's also part of the creative process, is being part of the experiencer and not just the person who creates it. I think we can all bring something to that space. So that's what I plan on doing with this channel, talking about ways to make your life more creative. If I had any suggestions for this week off the top of my head, I'd say don't quit. I used to call it practicing guitar, and now I call it playing guitar. It's a simple little mind game, but that can make a difference. Instead of saying practicing drawing, just say, today I'm going to be drawing. Or call yourself what you are. I'm a writer. Some days I'm a photographer. And be proud of calling yourself that. If you don't just want to call yourself a creator or a visionary, that works as well. A lot of times I'll just say I'm a visionary. Some people look at me a little sideways sometimes, but I say it just means I see things in an artistic and unique way. And I think we can all do that. So River Says is changing. Like I said, a new channel name, which is called River Says. I will explain at some point why it's called River Says. It's kind of a long story, but river is very important to me. I will go into more detail. Probably on the website, I'll write a piece about it. But we're going to focus on living a creative lifestyle in general. And I really was leaning into the writing part, and I want to get away from that because I want to bring more people along for the ride. And I want to let people know that no matter what you do, it can be creative. It includes essays, nonfiction, photographs, drawings, anything. And I'd love to see some musicians come on and play a unique song, and be happy to share it on the website. Like I said, I'll be doing interviews and talking to other creators. And once I learn how to share my screen, I'll be looking at some famous poems and that sort of thing, or paintings, and we'll talk about them together. And I'm learning this new technology, and as I go along, I hope you can learn along with me, and we can make it a really positive experience for everyone. So let's all be creative together. And as I said, I'm really shifting the focus of riversays.org and the channel to being this the space where creative people can be creative and talk about creativity. And it's open for every adult who wants to be creative. So a lot more details on the website about what we're looking for, but the channel is going to be a little more extemporaneous. I hope I don't rely too much on scripts. But I've been spending a lot of time the past few decades learning how to live a creative life. And I'm much more human for it, I believe. And I'm going to share some of those tips. We're going to take it on the road next. Next week, I'm going to be dragging my camera out someplace. So watch for that. But I just wanted to make this announcement. It's a new year. It's going to be a new channel. It's going to be a new journey. So let's start again. And thanks.